Hi, my name is David Riley, and today I'm going to reveal how this small, isolated tribe living in the depths of the Amazonian rainforest held the key to reversing my high blood pressure and transforming my cardiovascular health. This groundbreaking discovery that has stunned the world of medical science allowed me to safely lower my systolic blood pressure by 105 points and my diastolic blood pressure by 72 points in just over 2 weeks, saving my life. In fact, before discovering this quick and simple treatment, I'd been on blood pressure meds for 12 whole years, was regularly in a state of hypertensive crisis, had suffered 3 TIAs, or mini strokes, and my own doctor had warned me I was just days away from a full-blown stroke that would leave me paralyzed or even brain damaged. But thanks to this 100% natural home remedy, which requires no medication of any kind, I and thousands like me are now effectively immune to hypertension. In just a few seconds from now, you're going to discover that despite what your doctor has told you, you don't need medication to control your blood pressure at all. And you never did. And you'll be furious once you discover that the natural remedy I'm about to reveal, based on a world-renowned study into hypertension and published in countless peer-reviewed medical journals, has been deliberately suppressed by greedy and immoral pharmaceutical companies who make billions of dollars from blood pressure meds like ACE inhibitors, calcium channel blockers, beta blockers, and more. And as I speak, these companies are doing everything in their power to keep this simple method, which costs just pennies, hidden from the very people who need it the most. So, I urge you to keep watching, because this presentation won't be around for much longer. And believe me, what I'm about to reveal is not something you want to miss. After all, just imagine, in as little as 2 weeks from now, being free from the worry, fear, and inconvenience of high blood pressure. Imagine no longer having to visit your doctor for test after test, or having to swallow another expensive and toxic blood pressure pill ever again. Imagine being able to eliminate your current symptoms, including headaches, confusion, fatigue, vision problems, chest pain, breathing difficulties, irregular heartbeat, blood in the urine, or pounding in your chest, neck, or ears. And imagine never again having to worry about suffering a fatal heart attack or a sudden stroke that could leave you unable to walk, talk, or function normally. This groundbreaking method has already helped nearly 24,000 people of all ages to safely lower their blood pressure within as little as 17 days. And it will work for you too, whether you've had high blood pressure for 1 week or 10 years, or 30 years or 90 years old, have mild or chronic hypertension, or are suffering from moderate to severe side effects because of your meds. Plus, it's so quick and easy to do, it can be put into practice from the comfort of your own home, starting today. Now, I completely understand if you're feeling a little skeptical right now. After all, what I'm telling you today pretty much flies in the face of everything you've been told by doctors and the medical mainstream in general. In fact, if I were watching this video just 6 months ago, before I'd been able to experience this life-changing treatment for myself, I would have been skeptical too. To be honest, I wouldn't have believed it at all, because like millions of my fellow Americans, I've been brainwashed into thinking that medication was the only way to tackle high blood pressure. But thankfully, I had an open mind. I put this treatment to the test, and it worked better than I could have ever imagined. Just as it did for Brian Murtaugh of Flint, Michigan, who'd suffered from high blood pressure for 7 years. The doctors plied him with meds throughout that time, and he also had 2 stents put in. But despite this so-called specialist treatment, Brian suffered a TIA, or mini stroke. But after discovering this home remedy, Brian's BP came down from 200 over 140 to 130 over 80 in just 3 weeks. And his wife Linda describes the difference in his health as phenomenal. And then there's Mariela Dominguez from Mitchell, South Dakota, who was diagnosed with high blood pressure in 2010. After a series of severe reactions to her meds, she discovered she was allergic to all ACE inhibitors. Despite going from drug to drug, nothing seemed to work, and she would often feel dizzy, pass out, and even feel numbness in her limbs. All the doctors ever did was prescribe a different drug. But after putting this remedy into action, her blood pressure fell from 190 over 140 to 125 over 80 in 15 days, and her health has been transformed. And then there's Catherine Ewing of Jefferson City, Missouri. Catherine used to be fit, strong, energetic, and loved life. She says she'd never really been ill, but after being diagnosed with high blood pressure, everything changed. She was prescribed 8 different medications within the first 18 months, and her health began to unravel. She was constantly fatigued and weak. Her muscles wasted away, and she went deaf in her left ear. Eventually, Catherine blacked out while shopping and woke up in an ambulance with 3 missing teeth and a broken collarbone. She promised herself that she would find another way to treat her high blood pressure, and that's exactly what she did. She's since slashed her BP levels and is now living a normal, healthy life again. Those are just 3 of the many real-life success stories that I've received over the last few months after deciding to make this treatment program available to the public. And I could show you thousands more. But what you're probably wondering right now is what this method actually is and how an admittedly regular and unremarkable guy like me with 0 medical knowledge or training came to stumble upon it. So let me tell you my remarkable story. Back in June 2003, I was a fit and healthy father of 3 celebrating my birthday. Or at least I thought I was fit and healthy. Because what should have been an enjoyable, fun-filled day for my wife and children turned into the beginning of a 12-year nightmare. It all started when I was playing with my 8-year-old son Marcus in the backyard, throwing a baseball around, when I suddenly began to feel tired. It was no big deal, so I carried on. But within minutes, I felt a tightness in my chest and I could barely breathe. I fell to my knees and I called out to my wife, who took one look at me and immediately called the ambulance, which rushed me to the local hospital. When my family arrived, I was hooked up to a monitor with all kinds of wires coming out of me. My kids were terrified, and my youngest son, Dominic, took my hand, looked me straight in the eyes, and said, "Daddy, please don't die." It brought tears to my eyes, because I suddenly realized how quickly life can be taken away. Luckily, I was okay, at least for the time being anyway. But when the doctors took my blood pressure, it was 210/140. I didn't even know that this was dangerously high until they told me. As you probably know yourself, high blood pressure, or hypertension to give it its medical name, carries no obvious symptoms, which is why they call it the silent killer. So if you've never taken your blood pressure, you'll only find out it's a problem when you end up collapsing to the floor, unable to breathe and with crippling chest pain. That's what happened to me. I had a stressful job, a recent death in the family, and 3 kids to look after, but I had no idea my blood pressure was such a problem until that day. I left the hospital relieved that it wasn't a heart attack or a full-blown stroke. After all, it was just high blood pressure. How hard could that be to keep under control? Well, very hard, as it turned out. Over the next 12 years, I was put on a variety of meds, from ACE inhibitors, angiotensin receptor blockers, calcium channel blockers, beta blockers, and diuretics. Sometimes I was on 6, 7, or even 8 medications at once. And during these years, I lost any faith I ever had in the medical profession. Not a single doctor had even a basic understanding of nutrition, even though changes to diet and lifestyle are scientifically and medically proven to control blood pressure. They weren't interested in my long-term health. Instead, all they did was prescribe drug after drug just to get me out the door. The problem was, they didn't seem to have a clue how my body would react to each one. It was like they were using a suck-it-and-see approach. It was just trial and error. But hey, it wasn't their body they were playing around with, so what did it matter? I went through so many different meds and suffered from a whole range of health problems. There were so many, I had no idea whether they were side effects of the medication I was on or simply my body breaking down as a result of hypertension. I experienced strange chest pains and irregular heart rhythms that scared the life out of me and my wife. My legs, hands, and feet went numb for days at a time, at which point I was just given another round of meds. One drug turned me into a walking zombie. I couldn't think, focus, or remember anything. Another caused erectile dysfunction, which stressed me out even more, and I was moved on to another drug to counteract that, which created a whole heap of new side effects. Another caused my sodium levels, creatine, urea, and potassium levels to plummet. I was feeling wretched pretty much every day, unable to escape the vicious medication merry-go-round that I was now trapped on. A specialist told me that if I hadn't been scheduled for a blood test when I was, my kidneys would have failed. Panic and anxiety took over my life. I was worried about what my blood pressure meds were doing to my body and whether they might be actually the cause of all my problems. So I began looking into them, and the reports I found were terrifying. I knew all about the side effects like gastrointestinal bleeding, insomnia, dizziness, nausea, bleeding gums, and more. But what I didn't realize was that blood pressure meds have actually been proven to increase the risk of stroke, and even cancer too. Yep. You heard right. The meds that were designed to help my cardiovascular health were in fact increasing my risk of stroke. A study by the University of Alabama at Birmingham and published in the esteemed journal Stroke found that blood pressure meds increased stroke risk by a whopping 248%, while the risk of stroke went up 33% with each blood pressure medicine used. Another study, published in the Lancet Oncology Journal, concluded that angiotensin receptor blockers, or ARBs, increased the risk of lung cancer by 25%, while another study published in the journal Cancer found that women taking calcium channel blockers were twice as likely to develop breast cancer as women who weren't taking any high blood pressure medication at all. I couldn't believe what I was reading. But of course, my doctor kept pushing me to take the meds, telling me that I'd put myself at serious risk of a stroke or a heart attack if I didn't. I felt completely trapped and powerless. I was damned if I did, and damned if I didn't. And then, just when I thought things couldn't get any worse, I got the biggest fright of my life. My wife and I were having a stupid argument about the laundry when she suddenly stopped shouting and looked at me in horror. I hadn't realized, but my face had dropped on the left side and my speech was slurred. My wife called 911 and I was rushed to the hospital again, but this time I'd suffered a transient ischemic attack, or mini stroke. The brain can't function without a steady supply of oxygenated blood, and my high blood pressure had led to a blood clot which had briefly blocked blood flow to my brain. Over the next year, I suffered 2 more TIAs. Each time, I was fortunate to escape with my life, but I knew I'd been lucky, and I might not be so fortunate next time. The physician told me that I was facing a full-blown stroke or even a heart attack, and it could strike at any moment. But guess what? His only solution was more meds. Like many people with high blood pressure, I was a ticking time bomb, and I knew I needed to do something about it, and fast. But what? Clearly, medication wasn't the answer. Nothing had worked up to this point, and if I continued along this road, I knew I was heading for an early grave. So I decided to take my health into my own hands. I scoured the internet looking for natural ways to treat hypertension. I read every research paper and analyzed hundreds of clinical studies. I visited my local library and combed through dozens of dusty old medical books. And I tried every food, natural ingredient, herb, plant extract, or supplement that even remotely hinted at being able to treat high blood pressure. Nothing worked. But then just when I was close to giving up, something extraordinary happened. I stumbled upon a dusty, old, and long-forgotten article from 1988 buried in a small-town library on the state border, which would finally put me on the path to defeating hypertension for good. According to the article back in 1982, something called the INTERSALT study had sent an international research team across the world to explore the link between salt intake and hypertension. The study looked at 10,079 males and females 20 to 59 years of age, belonging to 52 populations in 32 countries in Africa, the Americas, Asia, and Europe. During the study, which lasted 6 years, a remarkable discovery was made. It was found that a tiny isolated tribe living in the rainforest and mountains of northern Brazil had 0 cases of hypertension. This tiny tribe were known as the Yanomamo Indians. In fact, their average blood pressure came out at an astonishing 103/63, compared to an average of 120/74 for all of the other 51 populations. Plus, their blood pressure did not increase with age. Whatever they were doing had literally left them immune to hypertension. But here's the thing. Although the study confirmed previous reports that high blood pressure could be lowered by reducing salt intake, and this became the standard advice given out by the medical establishment for the next 30 years, the research team knew that it wasn't just a low salt intake that had managed to eliminate hypertension from the Yanomamo Indian population, because other groups they'd studied ate barely any salt at all. Yet there were still numerous cases of hypertension within those populations. And this is where the breakthrough happened. According to the article, when the research team left Brazil, a small group of 4 men stayed behind and spent the next 17 months studying the diet of the Yanomamo Indians in an attempt to find the secret to eliminating hypertension from Western society for good. During their studies of the Yanomamo Indians, the team discovered that higher protein diets with high fiber intakes led to a massive reduction in high blood pressure risk. These findings were supported almost 30 years later when a little-known study carried out at the Boston University School of Medicine and published in the American Journal of Hypertension in March 2015 reported a huge 59% risk reduction. They also discovered that the Yanomamo Indians' diet was rich in a little-known antioxidant known as coenzyme Q10, found in cold water fish like salmon, tuna, and herring, as well as dark leafy greens, nuts, shellfish, pork, chicken, and beef. And once again, a study carried out at the Cardiac Surgical Research Unit at Alfred Hospital in Melbourne and published in the Journal of Human Hypertension supported this, concluding that coenzyme Q10 was able to lower systolic blood pressure by up to 17 points and diastolic blood pressure by up to 10 points. In fact, over that 17-month period, this small research team was able to pinpoint the exact foods, herbs, spices, berries, and seeds that prevented the Yanomamo Indians from ever becoming hypertensive. They knew they were onto something potentially groundbreaking, and they were confident that they could eliminate hypertension for good, just as the Yanomamo Indians had done, so that no one would ever need to take blood pressure meds ever again or have to suffer the horrible side effects that came with them. The team put together a definitive list of ingredients proven to lower blood pressure and reduce any risk of hypertension. The article concluded with the lead researcher stating that he intended to publish his full research shortly. As I read the final paragraph, I was overcome with excitement, and I was shocked at everything I just read. There was hope at last. I'd been through hell for 12 years, but it turned out there had been a proven way to beat this thing all along. But why hadn't anyone told me about it? Why didn't the doctors know about this? Why didn't everyone on Earth already have access to this information? It would have saved millions of lives. I couldn't understand it at the time, and I searched relentlessly for the follow-up research, but couldn't find any mention of it anywhere, or the men involved. Where was the full research paper that the team were planning to publish all the way back in 1988? I couldn't find it anywhere. So I decided that I had to get in touch with the research team myself. Here was a natural and completely safe way to beat hypertension. I simply couldn't let that opportunity slip through my grasp. So I searched for a way to contact anyone involved in the study. I wrote letters and emails to universities, medical schools, and research institutions that had any kind of link to the study, and I left hundreds of messages. I received nothing back. There was no sign of these four men, no references to their work, no contact details, no mention of them anywhere. It seemed like they'd simply vanished into thin air. But why? They were respected cardiologists, medical researchers, and hypertension specialists with an unrivaled reputation and decades of experience in their fields. Plus, they'd been involved in one of the most comprehensive and successful hypertension studies of all time. And then, just when I'd all but given up hope, I'd received an anonymous email. It simply said this: "Hi David, I believe you've been trying to get in touch with me about the findings of the INTERSALT study. My number is blah, 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 blah." Well, the email was unsigned, but the person had left the phone number for me to contact them. Excited by what they might have to tell me, I called the number immediately. And what followed was the most eye-opening conversation of my life. Over the next 40 minutes, the man spoke calmly and eloquently, and was clearly highly intelligent. He told me his name, but asked that I not share it, and I agreed to honor that request. During the call, he explained to me that back in 1991, after completing their 17-month study into the Yanomamo Indians, the team had decided to return to the U.S. and put their research to the test. Working out of an Ivy League medical school, they'd set about trialing their new diet based on what they discovered studying the Yanomamo Indians on 237 patients with various degrees of hypertension. Within an average of just 17 days, each and every patient lowered their blood pressure levels dramatically and effectively reset their blood pressure permanently. Blood pressure levels fell from 210 over 140 to 115 over 68. From 200 over 135 to 118 over 70, from 190 over 120 to 116 over 74, and so on. These blood pressure readings remained stabilized. The results were astounding. The team knew that they discovered a treatment that would send shockwaves through the medical community, a 100% natural and side effect-free remedy that would allow anyone, regardless of age or gender, to lower their blood pressure quickly and easily and return to optimum health in a matter of days. And crucially, eliminate the need for dangerous, life-threatening blood pressure meds completely. After completing the pilot study, the man told me that he'd requested funding from his medical school to perform a larger study and get the results published around the world. But after waiting for months, his request was denied. As it turned out, although the head of his department had been blown away by the findings, when he'd taken the team's proposal to his bosses, he was told that while they supported the research in private, they couldn't publish it publicly, and they wouldn't be providing any further funding. I asked why that was, and the response still shocks me to this day. Apparently, his medical school wouldn't publicly support the treatment plan because, wait for it, it didn't include any medication. I sat there open-mouthed as the man on the other end of the phone told me why. It turned out that 75% of the medical school's funding came from pharmaceutical companies, and they'd made it crystal clear that if they allowed them to publish this research or even continue the work, every single cent of that funding would disappear overnight. Disgusted by the situation, the entire four-man team quit and never returned to medicine. I was shocked at the time, but as the gentleman explained the situation, it all made perfect sense. The last thing that Big Pharma wanted was a dirt-cheap, natural treatment plan for hypertension that was categorically proven to work because blood pressure meds like ACE inhibitors, angiotensin receptor blockers, calcium channel blockers, beta blockers, and diuretics rake in billions of dollars every year. In fact, to give you an idea of just how much money Big Pharma is making from this market today, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, a whopping 70 million Americans now suffer from high blood pressure, and that is 1 in every 3 American adults. And that's not to mention all the medication that's prescribed to treat other health conditions that are caused by high blood pressure, like angina, coronary artery disease, irregular heart rhythms, kidney failure, erectile dysfunction, stroke, neuropathy, osteoporosis, and many others. With a cash cow like this, there was absolutely no way that Big Pharma was going to allow anything to threaten it, especially a natural solution that is so simple and so easy that anybody can do it with no medical knowledge whatsoever. Disgusted by the situation, the man on the phone had decided to make his treatment program available to the public as far back as 1994. He created a simple, easy-to-follow guide that showed people how to lower their blood pressure naturally without meds and started handing it out in hospitals, medical centers, and clinics. But as word spread about the incredible results that people were getting, he was threatened and warned to keep his mouth shut. Cars would follow him. He started to receive silent phone calls, anonymous letters, and eventually he was forced to go into hiding when his family was threatened. That was 20 years ago, he said, and I haven't dared to speak out since. I just couldn't risk it. As I listened to his story, I was desperate for him to help me, and I practically begged him to share his treatment program. After telling him about my struggles with hypertension and the side effects I'd encountered from all the medication, he agreed to hand over his program, but only on one condition. I did not give you this, he said. I am not legally responsible for what you do with it. This is on you. Of course, I understand completely, I replied. 3 days later, I received a tightly wrapped brown parcel in the post and tore it open with the excitement of a kid on Christmas morning. This was it. The exact superfoods that the team had discovered during the study were all there. Every ingredient, combination, and amount required were all laid out with detailed meal plans for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, as well as snacks and drinks. I was also shown which supplements to take, how many I should take, and exactly when I should take them in order to maximize their efficiency. My wife was as committed to the new diet as I was and helped me prepare all of my meals. Straight away, I found myself constantly checking my home blood pressure monitor for any change. Days 1, 2, and 3, and 4 passed, but there was little difference. But the gentleman had told me that it would typically take around 2 weeks before I noticed any real effects. But then on day 5, something remarkable happened, and it continued every day for the next 2 weeks. I literally couldn't believe what I was seeing. But my systolic and diastolic blood pressure readings began to steadily fall day by day. I went from a frightening 220 over 140 down to 140 over 90 in just 5 days. And over the next 10 days, my blood pressure continued to fall until it had reached a perfectly healthy 113 over 71 by day 17. But not only that, I could feel the benefits too. Over the next few days, I felt like I was being reborn. My energy levels were up, and the tightness in my chest disappeared. I was more alert and focused. My memory started to improve, and all of the feeling came back to my limbs. My kidney function bounced right back to where it had been more than a decade earlier as well. I felt like a new man. My wife was stunned at the difference, and so was my doctor. He said that in all his years practicing medicine, he'd never seen such a transformation in someone's health in such a short space of time. What medication did this, he asked. None, I said with a smile. And when I told him how I'd done it 100% naturally, his jaw dropped. Not wanting to jump the gun too soon, I continued with the protocol and waited until 30 days had passed to see if my blood pressure was still stable. It was. I was showing 115 over 68, so I called my anonymous friend to tell him the good news. He picked up the phone and simply said 3 words. Worked, didn't it? I was laughing and crying at the same time, and I couldn't stop thanking him for helping me. We have to get this out there, I said. There are millions of Americans suffering right now who need to know about this. But they'll find it, the man replied, and they'll get it taken down. They always win, David. I don't care, I replied. I have to try. And that's exactly what I did. So with his blessings, I worked solidly for 9 weeks to turn his original treatment plan into a fully updated, comprehensive, step-by-step, and easy-to-follow system for treating high blood pressure without any medication at all. And I called it the Blood Pressure Protocol, a natural, safe, and scientifically proven program for lowering blood pressure from home. This protocol contains the exact step-by-step process that I took to lower my blood pressure from a dangerous 220 over 140 all the way down to a safe and healthy 115 over 68 in just 17 days, and it's stayed at a healthy level ever since. This simple home remedy succeeded in just 17 days where medication had failed for 12 years. I can hardly wait for you to experience the same results yourself, starting today. So let's take a look at what you'll find inside. First off, you'll get the Blood Pressure Protocol Guide. This is the core of the program, where you'll get unrestricted access to the Yonomomo Food Guide, where I list the most laser-targeted, up-to-date, and complete combinations of nutrients, ingredients, vitamins, and foods scientifically proven to lower blood pressure. These are the exact same ingredients consumed by the Yonomomo Indians, a small and isolated tribe who still live deep within the Amazonian rainforest and have 0 cases of hypertension. This approach is 100% unique to the Blood Pressure Protocol, and you will not find it anywhere else. Included in the guidebook is an easy-to-follow and done-for-you day-by-day protocol, schedule, and calendar to follow, which will teach you exactly what foods to eat and how to combine them for optimum results. I describe just how quick and easy it is to put this protocol to work starting today, and run it for as long as you like on complete autopilot and with minimum effort. I also talk about the special vitamins and minerals that have been uncovered, which turbocharge the process of safely lowering blood pressure. As well as the Blood Pressure Protocol Guide, you'll also be given my Hypertension Busting Recipe Guide, which comes complete with 21 delicious and easy-to-prepare recipes for lowering blood pressure, including breakfast, lunch, and dinner. These are recipes that I personally use to lower my blood pressure, and they are easy to follow. And best of all, taste great. And finally, you'll also receive the Super Smoothie Bible, which contains 17 recipes for tasty and nutritious shakes, which will allow you to reach your blood pressure target even faster. Do they work? Well, how about this? A recent study published in the journal Hypertension found that drinking a half liter or about 2 8-ounce cups of a common vegetable juice cut systolic blood pressure by 10 points and diastolic pressure by 4.8 points in just 3 hours. And that's just one ingredient I'm talking about. Of course, in the Super Smoothie Bible, you'll receive dozens of powerful foods, all clinically proven to lower blood pressure. And you'll be able to combine them together to achieve maximum results. Remember, this protocol is 100% natural, safe, and side effect free, so there's absolutely 0 risk. And if you're worried that this protocol might be tough to follow, don't be. I'm not asking you to change your diet very much at all here. All you need to do is simply swap out certain foods for others and add a few other natural, safe, and inexpensive foods, herbs, seeds, berries, and other natural ingredients, which are all available from your local grocery store for very little money. That's literally all it takes to start lowering your blood pressure in the next few days, to transform your health, both in the short and long term. And just imagine for a second how that would feel. Imagine knocking 50, 60, 70, or even 100 plus points off your blood pressure readings in a matter of days. Imagine the relief at watching those numbers fall day by day until your doctor gives you the all clear in no more than a few weeks from today. Imagine being able to dramatically reduce your risk of succumbing to any number of deadly health conditions like stroke, heart failure, aneurysms, kidney failure, and more, and turning your health around in an instant. Thousands of men and women just like you are doing exactly that right now, thanks to this simple protocol. People like Lainey Peters from Austin, Texas. In just 4 weeks on the program, she was able to reduce her systolic blood pressure by 77 points and her diastolic pressure by 63 points. Before that, she'd spent years being moved from drug to drug because of painful side effects linked to her med. Not anymore. And then there's Jeffrey Beal from Columbus, Ohio. He was recently diagnosed with stage 3 hypertension with a BP of 176 over 111. He was desperate to get these numbers down, but he'd heard so many horror stories about BP meds and their side effects that he wanted to try the natural route first. Within 6 days, his blood pressure started to fall, and by day 14, it was down to 125 over 80. A week later, it was 118 over 72, and it has stabilized at that level for months now. I dread to think where I'd be if I'd listened to my doctor and gone down the meds route, he told me. And then there's Michael Lander of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 3 years ago, Michael was diagnosed with hypertension with a reading of 160 over 100. He used to feel dizzy a lot, had painful cramps in his legs, and his potassium levels were so low It was causing his fingers and toes to cramp together. One day, Michael started to feel faint while driving his daughter to school and passed out, plowing into a car and ending up in a ditch. From that moment, he knew he had to try something different. In just 21 days on the blood pressure protocol, his BP went from 175 over 110 to 125 over 70. I have thousands more success stories just like those from people all over the world, thanking me for putting this program online. And because of the results people were getting, together with the risks I've been taking in putting this program out there, I'm sure you can understand why I originally considered charging as much as $597 for it. After all, each individual ingredient contained within the protocol has been scientifically proven to lower blood pressure in clinical trials. So when you add several of them together, consume each ingredient in the right dosage, and eat these foods consistently, the power of this treatment program is pretty clear to see. But here's something that's important for you to understand. I didn't create this program to make money. I did it because after discovering the dramatic effects for myself, I couldn't in good conscience deny other people the same opportunity to transform their health just as I've been able to do. And the last thing I wanted to do was price people out and deny millions of people the chance to experience what I've experienced, a return to full and vibrant health. So for that reason, I'm not going to ask you to pay $597, even though that's still well short of what this program is actually worth. In fact, I'm not even going to ask for half that, or 1/10 for that matter. Instead, you can pick up the blood pressure protocol for the small price you see below, just enough to cover my cost of putting all of this together. And all you need to do to get started is click on the Add to Cart button below. And when you do, you'll be sent straight through to a secure checkout page where you'll be able to order your copy. From there, you will then be redirected through to our exclusive members area where you can download the entire protocol to your computer, smartphone, or tablet and start lowering your blood pressure and boosting your health in the next few weeks. But that's not all. You see, I understand that you may be a little skeptical right now. After all, the entire medical industry, which is bankrolled by Big Pharma, has repeatedly told you that the only way to manage your blood pressure is with medication. Sure, they tell you to cut out salt, eat healthy, and exercise, but that's it. Despite the incredible advances in nutritional knowledge that have occurred in recent years, the medical industry has never given you a proven nutritional program for lowering your blood pressure. Don't you think that's strange? It's as if they don't really want you to get better, right? Well, they don't. Because if no one suffered from hypertension and the many other health conditions that go alongside it, then the pharmaceutical companies and the healthcare industry itself would lose billions. That's all they really care about. And it makes me pretty sick. But at the same time, I understand that the myth is strong. It's deeply embedded in American culture that drugs are the answer to all of our ailments because hundreds of billions of marketing dollars have been spent by Big Pharma in order to perpetuate this lie. You're bombarded with ads every day on TV, in magazines, and online, all pushing the latest medication. So if you're still a little unsure that this protocol can produce the kind of results I've talked about during this presentation, then I don't blame you at all. They want you to be skeptical about natural treatments. They want you not to believe that this is possible, and I get that. So if you are a little skeptical, I'm going to remove 100% of the risk on your end by including a 60-day money-back guarantee with your order. In short, if you don't achieve the results that you want, you don't pay. It's as simple as that. So go ahead and put my blood pressure protocol to the test in the comfort of your own home. Try out all of the ingredients, the delicious recipes, and smoothies. And if your blood pressure doesn't return to safe and healthy levels within the next 60 days, and you don't notice a massive improvement in your overall health, then simply email me at the address provided in the members area, and I will refund every cent of your investment with no questions asked. That's how confident I am that you're going to absolutely love this program. So go ahead and click the Add to Cart button below and take my blood pressure protocol for a test drive, risk-free, for a full 60 days. And do it now. Because there's no guarantee that this website will still be up tomorrow or even in the next few hours. Big Pharma will find it, and they will force me to take it down. I won't be able to compete with the financial power and force of their legal teams, and I can't risk the safety of my family any more than I have already. So right now is the time to make your decision. And as far as I see it, you have three options. Option one, you can continue doing what Big Pharma wants you to do and continue taking your medication. But remember, if you continue down this path, you'll be on that medication for the rest of your life. You will never be free. You will never be healthy. and you will never again be able to live life to the fullest. Chances are you'll experience crippling and painful side effects if you're not already. And by failing to give your body the nutrients it needs to heal itself and choosing to paper over the cracks with toxic drugs instead, as Big Pharma wants you to do, you'll inevitably start to suffer from further complications, and your risk of ending up in an early grave will rise dramatically. As you've already seen, the crazy facts are that your risk of a stroke actually increases if you choose to take blood pressure meds by a massive 248% to be precise. And that risk rises by another 30% with each new medication you take. This means a stroke could literally be just around the corner, meaning you could be spending the rest of your life trapped in a wheelchair, paralyzed, or even brain damaged and unable to speak, eat, or function normally. Life as you know it will be over. And maybe you'll succumb to chronic kidney failure or even cancer, which will slowly eat away at your organs and leave you in agony for the remaining months or years of your life. Or of course, you could go quickly thanks to a heart attack. These are the risks you're taking if you continue doing what you're doing. Or there's option 2, where you choose to travel to the Amazonian rainforest, seek out the Yanomamo Indians, and then spend the next few years analyzing their diet yourself, which will eventually allow you to work out which natural ingredients, combination of ingredients and specific amounts you need to dramatically lower your blood pressure and effectively eradicate hypertension from your life, just as the Yanomamo Indians have. Or you can take the third option, the easiest option.
You can press the add to cart below and invest a measly few bucks to get my proven blood pressure protocol sent direct to your computer, smartphone, or tablet within the next 90 seconds.
And remember, you can put it to the test completely risk-free for a full 60 days. The risk is all on me. So you have nothing to lose and everything to gain. So right now is decision time. Just imagine a life with no more medication. Imagine a life with no more pain, discomfort, and inconvenience brought about by the many different symptoms associated with high blood pressure and the side effects of toxic medication. Imagine a life that you get to fully enjoy again, with no more worries about whether you'll be struck down by a TIA, a stroke, aneurysm, heart attack, kidney failure, or cancer, and be forced to say goodbye to your family years or even decades too soon. The fact is, a happier, longer life awaits you. Improved health is just around the corner, and all you need to do is click the button. I'm David Riley, and I look forward to hearing your success story very soon. Still here? No problem. I understand if you're a little taken aback by everything you've just seen and heard. After all, it's a lot to take in. I get that. And you probably still have a few questions that you'd like answered. So to help you out, I've compiled a list of the most frequently asked questions that I receive. To begin with, the most common I get asked is, what will I receive when I order the blood pressure protocol? Well, first, you'll receive the blood pressure protocol guide, which comes complete with the most powerful ingredients on the planet, clinically proven to lower blood pressure quickly and safely. These are the exact same ingredients consumed by the Yanomamo Indians, a small and isolated tribe who still live deep within the Amazonian rainforest and whose diet has made them literally immune to hypertension. As well as the main guide, you will also receive my hypertension busting recipe guide, which includes 21 delicious and easy to prepare recipes for lowering blood pressure. And finally, you'll get the Super Smoothie Bible, which contains 17 powerful and nutritious smoothie recipes so you can reach your blood pressure target even faster. The second most common question people ask me is this: if this protocol works so well, why haven't the big pharmaceutical companies licensed it themselves? That's a good question. And to answer that, it's important that you understand that natural ingredients cannot be patented. It's illegal to claim any kind of ownership over a natural substance, which means the pharmaceutical industry can't patent them and therefore can't make money from them. And if they can't make money from them, they're not interested. It's that simple. But more worrisome, whenever a natural ingredient or product comes out that is proven to improve any health condition, the pharmaceutical companies will use all of their financial clout to challenge the results or block its release, because the last thing they want is for people to stop needing their drugs. But what you also need to realize is that practically every health condition on earth can be improved through natural ingredients. More and more scientific studies are proving that nature has the answer to pretty much every illness and disease in existence. And you've now discovered yourself, nature has the answer to hypertension too. A lot of people also ask me if the protocol will work for them based on their individual circumstances. They will tell me their medical history, blood pressure readings, and the side effects they've been experiencing from all the drugs that different doctors have placed them on. My answer to that is, we are all human beings and we all function the same way. So generally speaking, any nutrient that produces results for one person will produce similar results in another. Of course, we won't all achieve exactly the same results because some of us will have higher blood pressure than others or will have different complications alongside the hypertension. But the fact is, I have not had a single email from anyone telling me that this protocol didn't work for them, and almost 24,000 people have now used this program. So while I can't promise you that it will work for you, the evidence is there that it will. And hey, if you don't achieve the results you're looking for, it's not a problem because your order is fully protected by my ironclad 60-day money-back guarantee. And that's another question that I often get asked. Is there any risk? As you've just seen, the answer is no. There isn't any risk at all. If your blood pressure doesn't return to safe and healthy levels, and you don't feel the benefits of this protocol in the next 60 days, then all you need to do is email me at the address provided in the members area, and I will refund 100% of your investment. The truth is, if this program doesn't work for you, I don't want your money. It's that simple. Finally, people ask often how long the program will be available for. And my honest answer to that is, I don't know. As I explained earlier in the presentation, Big Pharma doesn't want this treatment protocol released to the public and spreading across America. They'll do everything they can to silence me and force me to shut this site down. And I won't be able to fight them off for much longer. So if you want a proven, natural, and 100% safe way to lower your blood pressure quickly and easily and to transform your health in the process, then I urge you to order now while you still can. To get started, simply click on the button below and I'll see you on the inside.